of Neighborhood Improvement Services, and I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us this evening. It is good to know that I'm in the company of so many friends, colleagues, and associates who support the work of Human Relations Commission and the Human Relations staff. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome you to the Human Relations Commission Award ceremony. These awards are presented annually to community leaders who've worked diligently to improve human relations in their neighborhoods by promoting fair housing, strengthening their communities, and supporting civil and human rights issues. The theme for this year is moving Durham forward to a new era of human and civil rights. As you know, February is the Human Relations Month in the state of North Carolina and the city of Durham. The city and people of Durham have made tremendous progress in human relations in the years since the establishment of the Human Relations Commission, and we look forward to continued progress in addressing serious human rights challenges that we still face. We owe our appreciation to all the residents of Durham who've contributed and continue to contribute to the advancement of mutual understanding, fairness, justice, and equal opportunity for all. Again, welcome, and thank you for helping us celebrate Human Relations Month in Durham. Now we'll turn the program over to the Mistress of Ceremony, Joy Morgan. She's the chair of the Human Relations Commission. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I know it says on the program that I'm supposed to give you the occasion, but Ms. Stansel did a wonderful job of doing that, so I'm not going to repeat what she just said. I want to recognize a couple of people who are here tonight that I am very thankful came to be supportive. And we have the House of Representatives delegation from Durham. We have Winky Wilkins here. We also have the infamous Mickey Michaud. Our Mayor Pro Tempore for City Council is Cora Cole McFadden. She's here. And I'm sure you all know Mike Woodard, who is also on City Council, and you might as well stand up later if I see you again. If any other elected officials come in, we will recognize them as they come in. So we want to thank you, first of all, for coming out tonight and being supportive of our people that we wanted to honor, who have done so much in the community for human diversity and race relations and housing issues. They have fixed a lot of problems that some of us may have not known about, but those of us who wanted to nominate them for an award were very aware of the things that they have done in the community. So we want to start with our current commissioner, which is Norris Wicker, who will be doing his remarks about the current commission.
First, I would say good evening. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here and to look among your faces and to say that I'm the new kid on the block with human relations. I began my tenure in June for a year. And I would first challenge anyone listening to me or in the community to be aware that early in the year, there are advertisements about opportunities to participate in city government on committees and this kind of thing. And this is where I began developing an interest and have found my experience thus far to be challenging, interesting, and something that I totally enjoy doing. And I would challenge you to do it. The Human Relations Commission this year is venturing out in the community, and we have ventured out in various cultural aspects of our community, and we're trying to reach out to the different cultures and ethnic groups in our community with a goal at some point of being able to bring everybody together so that we can better understand our cultural characteristics and ethnic practices, so that ultimately we can all get along better together and be more united in the great city of Durham. It is a place that, I don't know about you, but I've been here myself about 40 years. So, I guess that means I've been here all my life in terms of the way I look. But it is a challenge, and I would challenge anyone to get involved and do your part in making the city better. I've enjoyed the outings, the responsibilities, and the projects we've done, and it is likely that we're going to be more active with Ms. Morgan than we were earlier when I first started, because being new, they have to train me. So I got some excuses for not doing some things, but it's a challenge to learn with so many people on the commission that are committed and dedicated to getting a job done and bringing people together. I thoroughly enjoy it, and again, I challenge any of you to take advantage of any opportunity to participate in the volunteer commissions or the others. It is a joy, a pleasure, and you will be greatly rewarded. Thank you.
At this time, we would like to bring up the former chair of the commission, Mr. Nathaniel Getz, and he will bring you a couple of remarks himself.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Good evening, everyone. It's been just over a year ago that I concluded my service on the commission as its chairman. The brief time in which I occupied that seat, our group of amazing and committed volunteer commissioners bravely took on several issues which sought to unravel the amazing diversity and tolerance we enjoy in our city. Our Latino neighbors, of which are a growing and wonderful community, were under attack by those who wish to limit their human rights in our own neighborhoods. Looking around the room this evening, there are many people who joined in our efforts. They supported us where we worked through our political system to ensure that our Latino community would not be marginalized. In particular, our champion, who's being honored tonight with the Human Rights Award, Councilman Mike Woodard, spent countless hours behind the scenes providing support as we carried out the commission's charge. That effort was successful because we not only engaged in community building, but we also reached out to others who were not initially in favor of our work at all. Together, we found common ground through dialogue and understanding, and that's something that I continue to hold dear and cherish to this day. Sitting in this room this evening are people of all walks of life, backgrounds, religious and political affiliations. Look at your neighbor seated next to you, behind you, or in front of you. And ask yourself this, would I say hello, extend a positive greeting, even ask how his or her family is if I saw them outside walking on Main Street? What would that feel like? What if they said or were engaged in something that you were fundamentally opposed to? What about then? Human relations are hard work that take perseverance and a willingness to take the risk of being human. They are not simply about tolerance, but moving beyond to a place in which we seek to really understand and engage one another before passing judgment. The good news is that we can, as members of this community called Durham, accomplish just that. We already are, simply by being here this evening together. As we move forth this year, knowing that many complicated issues throughout our city, county, state, and nation, which have the ability to polarize and divide, we should not forget what it means to engage in human relations and work hard to do so. Let's continue to seek ways in which we can celebrate the good of what is happening in Durham, because that alone is pretty amazing. Thank you very much.
Before I bring up the person to introduce the keynote speaker, I wanted to read something to you about the human relations that we have in this city. We have, Delilah called me earlier today to tell me about the 10 commandments of human relations, and I thought that these were very important words and very potent words that needs to be said, because realistically speaking, even if you aren't on the commission or in the department, you can do this every minute of every day of your life. The 10 commandments of human relations. Number 1, speak to people. There is nothing as nice as a cheerful word of greeting. Number 2, smile at people. It takes 72 muscles to frown, only 14 to smile. Number 3, call people by name. The sweetest music to anyone's ears is the sound of his own name. Number 4, be friendly and helpful. If you want friends, you must be one. Number 5, be cordial. Speak and act as if everything you do is a joy to you. Number 6, be genuinely interested in people. You can like almost everybody if you try. Number 7, be generous with praise and cautious with criticisms. Number 8, be considerate with the feelings of others. There are usually 3 sides to a controversy: yours, the other fellow's, and the right side. Number 9, be eager to lend a helping hand. Often it is appreciated more than you know. And number 10, add to this a good sense of humor, a huge dose of patience, and a dash of humility. This combination will open many doors, and the rewards will be enormous. At this time, I'd like to bring up Commissioner Anise Fisher to introduce our keynote speaker.
Reverend Philip Cousin Jr. was born in Boston, Massachusetts. He's the oldest of 5 sons, born to Bishop and Mrs. Philip R. Cousin Sr. Reverend Cousin received his early education in the Durham County Public School System in North Carolina. He later earned a BA degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with a double major in religion and philosophy. He received a Master of Divinity degree from Duke University Divinity School in Durham, North Carolina. Reverend Cousin has also received a certification in clinical pastoral education from Bowman Gray School of Medicine in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. An elder in the church since 1977, Reverend Cousin began serving as a mission and supply pastor in 1975. His next assignment was a 2-point circuit in 1977. He was assigned to his first station charge in 1980. Reverend Cousin has served congregations in Cary, Greensboro, Chapel Hill, and Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where at St. James A.M.E. Church, he led the congregation to the retiring of their mortgage in 1984. On Sunday, August the 16th, 1992, Reverend Cousin was presented as the 29th pastor of the St. Joseph's A.M.E. Church, the pulpit from where his father was elected to the episcopacy. As aggressive and progressive as his father, under the guidance of this new young pastor, a new comprehensive program emerged. New goals were set. In 1993, Reverend Cousin implemented a comprehensive program that included debt retirement, expansion and savings investment components of the program were possible and successful because of the emotional well-being of the family of God. In 1992, when he arrived, the church was in excess of $408,000, and 4 years later, the church mortgage was burned. St. Joseph's continues to grow. God has blessed the church in the fall of 2000 to receive a HUD grant in excess of $3.5 million. These funds built a 32-unit senior citizen housing facility. 18 continuous residential properties are planned for the purchase as they become available. The vision was to provide transitional housing, homesteading opportunities, and sites for mission work. There's also plans to concurrently build an adjacent quality of life center to add a new educational and administrative wing to the church. In the City of Durham, Reverend Cousin is a member of the political subcommittee on Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People, an organization over which he now serves as the chairman. In 1996, he was elected to a 4-year term on the Board of Education for Durham Public Schools, where he was the vice chairman, serving in the capacity as he did with his father before him. In 2000, he sought higher office and was elected to serve a 2-year term as the commissioner in Durham County. He was reelected in 2002 and in 2004, one of the first elected to serve a 4-year term. An engaging lecturer, Reverend Cousin has conducted seminars on church management throughout the country and overseas. Reverend Cousin is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, married to the former Angela McMillan. Between them, they are the parents of 5 children: Philip Robert III, Danielle Anna, Daniel Alexander, Carlos McMillan, and Joshua Kevin. A man of faith and vision, Reverend Philip R. Cousin Jr. promises to continue the mission of the African Methodist Episcopal Church and bring this great Zion to the pinnacle of service in this present age. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Cousin.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fisher. For a moment there, I was worried that the introduction might be longer than my presentation. I've long been an adherent of the idea that a man who deserves an introduction does not need one, and a man who needs an introduction may not deserve one. But I want to thank you for that one. To the chair and mistress of ceremonies this evening, to commissioners, past and present, elected officials, my brothers and sisters, I count it honor to be here this evening and to have an opportunity to address this very fine organization and recognizing the outstanding work of our citizens, one it appears that we are going to be losing soon from the City Council in the person of Mike Woodard. I'm very happy to have my wife Angela here with me this evening. She serves to anchor me and steady me, and if after all of the years that I've been doing this, I still manage to get nervous. And so Angela is on the front row right there to keep me steady. If you will give me 12 minutes, I promise I will be out of your way. I have to warn you, though, I am a preacher. Politics is my moonlight. The church is my sunshine. So now if you invite a preacher to be your speaker, then you're going to get what I have to give you. For that reason, I'm going to invite your attention to the book of the prophet Isaiah, the 39th chapter. It's a very short chapter. It's only 8 verses. And I want to read 3 of them in your hearing this evening. I'll start with verse 5. Let me start with verse 5. And this is what we find in Isaiah, the 39th chapter. Then said Isaiah to Hezekiah, Hear the word of the Lord of hosts. Behold, the days come that all that is in thine house, and that which thy fathers have laid up in store until this day, shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Lord. And of thy sons that shall issue from thee, which thou shalt beget, shall they take away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. Then said Hezekiah to Isaiah, Good is the word of the Lord, which thou hast spoken. He said, Moreover, for there shall be peace and truth in my days. I want you to consider for a few moments this evening a topic: what will be our legacy? What will be our legacy? In the 8th chapter of that, in that 39th chapter, in those 8 verses in Isaiah, we find a very interesting story about Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz and the 14th king of Judah. Hezekiah accepts a present brought to him by one Merodach-Baladan, son of Baladan, who was at that time the king of Babylon. Merodach-Baladan heard that Hezekiah had been sick, but now he had gotten well. And so he sent envoys bearing gifts to his neighbor, the king. But this is very curious, because Babylon was not Hezekiah's friend. Babylon was his enemy. It might be well for us to recognize in our own lives that every now and then we're going to run into folk who find out we're sick, and if they're checking on us, they're not checking on us to see if we've gotten well. This is a story that reveals something in human nature that is still prevalent today, and that is how we give deference to our enemies and often disregard our friends. I think we do that because sometimes it may be just too hard to tell the difference. It may also be that our enemy knows exactly how to appeal to us and what appeals to us, what to say, how to write sweet love letters of affection with wrong heart motives, containing the seeds for our destruction. Live long enough and life will teach you to be careful. Recognize when an enemy embraces us in one arm, perhaps to stab us in the back with the other. At any rate, Hezekiah was so pleased and moved with the letters and the present sent to him by Merodach-Baladan that he showed his entire house, all of his treasures and his armory, to his enemies. If there's anything that we in our right minds ought to know, it is that we ought not show our enemy our possessions. Not only did Hezekiah do this, Hezekiah found pleasure in showing everything that he had to the envoys of Merodach-Baladan. Too often, we are guilty of doing the very same thing, showing our treasures and sharing our treasures with our enemies, with open hands, accepting gifts that they proffer, without stopping to consider their motive. It reminds me of what happened with Samson and Delilah, and because this is a G-rated gathering, I'm going to keep my remarks there G-rated, but you know what happened. Do you know that Delilah was a Philistine princess, and Delilah was actually a gift to Samson by the Philistines? There was a show that used to be on TV called Hell Date. Imagine going on a date, a blind date, set up by your enemies. But Samson did, and we know what happened to him. Eventually, he was delivered over by Delilah into the hands of his enemies for his destruction. We ought to be careful about gifts offered us by those who may not necessarily be our friends. There's a gift being offered Durham right now in Research Triangle Park. It's the gift of a public-private school that masquerades as the idea of a charter school. It's a school with no lunch program, a school with no transportation program, and a school, since it requires all entering students to have mastered 9th grade Algebra 1, seeming to have no program whatsoever for students who might be in trouble, for those who might lack the transportation to take advantage of all that such a learning site would offer. We must never be so ignorant as to allow our enemies to come in and take from us what belongs to us. You read that whole 39th chapter, and you're going to find that the prophet Isaiah goes to Hezekiah, and he asks him some very germane questions. He says to him, "What did these men say to you, and where did they come from?" He says, "They came from a far country. I think they said they came from Babylon." So Isaiah further inquires, "Well, what did you show them in your house?" Hezekiah answered, "I showed them everything. They have seen everything that is in my house. There's not anything among my treasures that I failed to show them." The prophet Isaiah asked Hezekiah some very direct questions, trying to help Hezekiah to understand what he had done, the error of his ways. See if he could open his eyes and show him where what he did was insane. Sometimes it takes a Nathan to pull us aside and just like King David tell us, you know, you messed up. So we come to the words of the text. Listen to what Isaiah says to Hezekiah. Hear the word of the Lord. The days are going to come when everything in your house, everything your fathers have accumulated, right until this present day, is going to be carried off into Babylon. And not only that, Hezekiah, but your sons, the sons which proceed from you, will be taken away, and the king of Babylon will make them eunuchs in his palace. And Hezekiah hears these words, and he says, and that's a good word from the Lord that you have spoken. Moreover, he says to Isaiah, it means that there shall be peace and truth in my days. What in the world was it about what Isaiah said that made Hezekiah respond in the way that he did? He tells him that as a result of your little show and tell tour, you're going to lose everything you have. Your sons are going to be carried away as eunuchs. And because this is still the G-rated gathering, I'm not going to go into what a eunuch is. But there are different ways of emasculating males. Ask almost anyone in the black community. We build houses of emasculation. There happens to be one in close proximity to here, I do believe, overshadowed now by a justice center and somehow, ironically, counterbalanced by an entertainment center. But we can make no sense of these words of Hezekiah, who seems to find this to be a good word from the Lord, unless we understand what Hezekiah is saying is, I'm so glad it will not happen on my watch. This may indeed come to pass, but the Lord has spoken a good word to me because it means that in my day, it ain't going to happen, so I don't care. But Hezekiah leaves us with is a pretty callous way to view the legacy of pain and suffering that was to be borne not only by his offspring, but by his entire society. It brings me back to the original question, and I wonder, what will our legacy be? Will we be remembered for the wrongs that we tried to right while serving our present age? Will we be remembered because we fought the good fight against poverty, unemployment, unfair housing, economic and healthcare disparities, racial achievement gap? Do we care enough about the tomorrows of those who will come after us to work for them, to fight the good fight for them today? Or is our concern only for ourselves and for the nowness of our own lives? Durham is indeed a wonderful place, but it is still a place of raging disparities. The finest institutions of higher education to be found in this country, unfortunately, in the county, which is number 10 in the top 10, in a state that is number 49 out of 50. Durham is indeed a wonderful place to live, but we find ourselves in an environment where, while the economy has not been too unkind to us, our unemployment rate is lower than that found in the rest of the state. However, proceed east a little ways from where we are right now, the unemployment rate soars to 30%. What will be our legacy? Think about it.
Reverend Cousin, truly appreciate that word, because that is a great question that we all need to ask ourselves. What is your legacy? I'd like to, at this time, recognize Representative Paul Lupke, who came in. If you would please stand, sir. Another one of our Durham delegation who is fighting hard over there in that General Assembly right now. Next on our program, we would like to award our people that we came here for tonight. First, we would like to do the presentation of Human Relations Fair Housing Award and Community Housing Award, which will be presented by Delilah Donaldson, Human Relations Manager.
Thank you, Joy, for that introduction. And I would like to say to Reverend Cousin about your message. My mother didn't name me after that, Delilah, but but my great-great-grandmother. I always feel like I have to defend myself on that, but that's okay. The first award tonight is going to go to what I call an unsung hero. I want to say when the committee got together to look at the award nominations that we received, we had quite a few of them that were different, and then from what we usually get. So it is with pleasure that for the first award, the Fair Housing Award, that we give that to what I call an unsung hero. And let me tell you something about her. Her name is Stephanie Williams. Since coming to the Durham Center in 2009, Stephanie Williams has continually brought a positive attitude and outstanding efforts to promote and establish housing options for individuals with behavioral health needs. As the Durham Center's housing specialist, Stephanie is responsible for assisting consumers and providers with finding sustainable and/or supportive housing for those in need. She is a tireless advocate for this population and regularly attends housing meetings, coordinates housing meetings with local landlords, city officials, nonprofits, and other stakeholders. She also serves as a major coordinator for several annual events designed to get homeless individuals connected to the most appropriate housing and service options in Durham. Recognizing that additional assistance was needed to do this, Stephanie successfully applied for and received a U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development grant worth over $300,000 to establish 2 programs in Durham to house homeless individuals and homeless families in fair market housing. Since its inception, these 2 programs have served as multiple families and individuals and placed them in fair housing options throughout Durham County. Without her program assistance, this would not have happened. Whether she is speaking with a homeless individual requesting housing assistance or with the assistant county manager regarding homeless outreach, Stephanie is genuine, passionate, and constantly focused on improving housing options for those in need in Durham. For these reasons, Stephanie Williams is most deserving of this award and a true blessing to Durham. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Stephanie Williams.
Thank you so much for this award from the Human Relations Committee. I really want to thank God for all these blessings. Also, I want to thank my coworkers. This would not be possible without the collaboration from the Durham Center staff in helping provide services to those most in need, those with mental health, substance abuse, and developmental disabilities. Also, I want to thank the City Community Department of Development, the Department of Social Services. They are partners in this with me. And I want to thank each of you for coming out to this event. Thank you.
Okay, our next award is a Community Housing Award. And this is an award, this is actually the first year that we have done that with the Housing Awards, to have 2 of them. And I think it is so appropriate. It is so appropriate, especially when it deals with building communities. The recipient this year for the award is Mike William Shiflett. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Mike. And if I had to tell everything, you would not leave here tonight. So, so I only will say abbreviated remarks about it, but he's done quite a lot here in Durham. Mike is president and CEO of American Labor and is also owner and operator of Lab ACM Incorporated. Ever since moving to Durham in 1984, Mike has been deeply committed to his community and to Durham's different neighborhoods. He believes in learning about how and what causes neighborhoods to succeed or fail, and is a committed volunteer on many organizations and community associations, not only in his own neighborhood, but in all of Durham and the larger Triangle area. The number at the last count was 49 and still growing. Neighborhood and housing groups that have had the pleasure of working with Mike include, but are not limited to, Watts Hospital Hillingdale Neighborhood Association, Inter-Neighborhood Council, Campaign for Decent Housing Substandard Housing Committee, the Housing Appeals Board. He's a founding member of Rebuild Durham, facilitator for the Durham Pride Alliance, and PRIDE stands for Preservation, Revitalization, Investment, Development, and Education. And that's just to name a few of those organizations. In 1999, he also organized the first Neighborhood Summit to help recognize everyday citizens who don't normally get attention for the good things they do in their neighborhoods. Mike also became involved with Partners Against Crime in 1995, and better known as the PAC. The following year, he agreed to become the chairperson of District 2 PAC and served as a co-facilitator of PAC 2 until 1999. Mike is a graduate of the Police Citizens Academy and the inaugural class of the Citizens Observer Patrol. Mike is also a certified Emergency Planning Committee member for Durham County, the Durham Chamber of Commerce, and the Durham Businesses Against Crime. And like I said, I'm only naming a few because the list does go on and on and on. With all of this, it's hard to believe that Mike still has time to raise 5 children. Danielle, 32, Adam, 22, Claire, 20, Megan, 17, and Aaron, 14. Mike's personal interest includes renovating and restoring his home that he shares with his wife, Cheryl. And just to prove that he is human, Mike is also a 17-gallon blood donor with the Red Cross. So, several years ago, while he was serving as president of INC, Mike came across the following quote: "Only in the continuous encounter with other persons does the person become and remain a person. The place of this encounter is the community." So I think you all will agree this is something Mike lives by every day. So congratulations, Mike, the 2012 winner of the Community Housing Award.
I wasn't prepared to do a long speech, and you're not going to get one. But I want to thank the number of people that I've met over the years. It's been 28 years I moved to Durham, and we were right. I do raise 4 of my children here in Durham, and although I'm not a native, my children are. My kids go to Durham Public Schools. I'm very proud of that. My wife, Cheryl, and I just attended my 14-year-old's soccer game at Riverside, and they tied. But I look out into the group of people, and I see all the friendly, smiling faces that I've got to know over the years. Craigie, Paul Lukey, I just can't name them all. Is Mia and Sebastian and Mia from our neighborhood where we do cleanup. Sebastian's a muscular guy that helps us haul tree limbs out of the park at Northgate Park 4 times a year. And I just feel very humbled by this presentation. And I want to thank you very much. Thank you.
Next, we want to bring up Commissioner Stephen Lee to give our Human Rights Award.
Good evening. Tonight I'm here to present the Human Rights Award, which recognizes a local, state, or federal lawmaker who has successfully supported or promoted human rights causes and issues. And tonight the Commission is proud to recognize our very own Councilmember Mike Woodard. Mike Woodard grew up in a family that valued the rights of all people, and a family who put those values to work in the community. After making Durham his home nearly 30 years ago, Mike began blazing his own trails, working for human rights, especially for those without a voice. In 1984, way before my time, Mike became the first man to train and to serve as a victim companion for the rape crisis of Durham, which he continued for 8 years. He also co-founded MAC, Men Acting for Change, a group of men working against domestic violence. And after being elected to the City Council, Councilmember Woodard served as the co-chair of the city's Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Task Force. Since he was elected in 2005, Mike has stepped into a number of issues to fight for basic rights. He introduced a Human Relations Commission resolution that condemned the Arizona immigration law, and which the City Council ultimately adopted the Commission's recommendation of imposing a travel ban. He also led the fight to defend Durham's use of the matricular consular, including lobbying and testifying at the State General Assembly. The council member was the author of the council's resolution against the currently proposed marriage amendment and has been invited to speak at rallies across the state. And when Time Warner Cable proposed eliminating its public access channel, Mike led a coalition of community groups and churches to save the channel, to find it a 24-hour per day home, and to find a nonprofit organization to manage the station, thereby protecting a number of religious broadcasts and other programs that represent minority voices. In 2008, Mike was recognized by Operation Breakthrough with its Community Service Award for its support of its self-sufficiency program. And in 2009, the Southern Anti-Racism Network honored him with its first Reliable Ally Award. And despite all that he's done thus far for the cause of human relations, I and the rest of the Commission is comforted to know that this is just the beginning for him. We all look eagerly forward to see what he does next. So for all of his contributions to the cause of human relations, well above and beyond the call of duty as a City Council member, the Human Relations Commission is proud to recognize Councilmember Mike Woodard with this year's Human Rights Award.
Those of you who know me know that I'm rarely at a loss for words, but when Delilah called me yesterday, and she knows this, and said that the commission had chosen me to receive this great honor, I really didn't know what to say. It's not presented every year, and has only been presented a few times. And it made me think, in preparation for tonight, if I could take you all a couple of miles from here, over to Maplewood Cemetery, we could find the grave of Dr. Bartlett Durham, the man who gave the land along the railroad that became our amazing city. On his gravestone are these words: "The merit belongs to the beginner, should his successors do even better." And it's really been my pleasure in serving this city over the years to follow so many other great leaders in so many different areas. And that's why I'm so proud to be part of this Human Relations Commission 50-year plus history of service to this community. If you look back over the years at the great leaders who were part of this Human Relations Commission, and indeed part of the human rights effort throughout Durham, there are illustrious names there, and they continue to inspire me. Fortunately, some are still with us and we can still hear their stories. Some have passed on, but we can relive their history each and every day that we go out and fight for human rights, not just in our community, but throughout the state and indeed the whole country. So they inspire me. If you all forgive me, I use a lot of sports analogies, but I always think when a player's traded to a really good team, that it brings up his or her game when you're playing with great players. And I have to say for just a moment that the 7 men and women, the other 6 other folks I sit up here on this dais with every night, and the Mayor Pro Tem is here tonight, really helped me bring my A game to everything that we do. And I'm so appreciative of the work that we do together here and with our administration. And just as Mike Shiflett looked across this room and saw so many people he's worked in the community with, I see so many other people here as well. And you all inspire me and drive me and help me bring my A game too. And first among my teammates to bring my A game is my wonderful wife, the Reverend Sarah Woodard, who's here tonight. And she's really my hero, so thank you. So, Stephen, I appreciate your comments. Just know, while this will hang on my wall, it's not there as some kind of a capstone award, but each time I look at it, I will use it just to continue to inspire me to work even harder for human rights in Durham and across our state. Thank you.
I'm going to take a point of privilege for a moment. Since this will be televised and probably roll tape until December, I'm going to take a chance and say, you all have to remember this year is a year that you have to go out and vote. And the people that you have in this room tonight that we know for sure are running for office, Winky Wilkins, Paul Lupke, and Mickey Michaud, and also Mike Woodard for Senate District 22. He filed last week. So I was taking that point of privilege to say that. So make sure you all go out and vote. Okay, moving right along to the Carlie B. Sessoms Award. I have to admit, I had asked someone else to present this award, but I'm really happy that I had the opportunity to do it myself. Since I've met this young lady, she has been quite impressive to me. I attended, again, this is a point of personal privilege, I attended one of her race relations conversations in the community. And I found it very interesting how they tackled the problems in the community as far as race was concerned. And in that room, there were many people, and they were all of various races, ethnic groups, racial backgrounds. And they were very blunt and very honest, and people actually had a chance to see things that they were not aware of before. So I can really appreciate what she does. But as far as her bio is concerned, Barbara Lau is the director of the Pauli Murray Project at the Duke Human Rights Center, where she connects her commitment to justice with her belief in the power of community organizing. The Pauli Murray Project uses a collaborative exploration of history and storytelling as a way to open and strengthen cross-community ties, promote reconciliation, and stimulate work for positive change. The project's goal is to empower Durham's residents to see their whole past, as Pauli Murray suggests, not as something to hide, but as a powerful tool for shaping the future. From producing To By the Sun, an original play about Pauli Murray, to her coordination of the Face Up, Telling Stories of Community Life mural project, Barbara weaves artists and art projects into much of her work. In her successful career as a folklorist and arts administrator, she has also recently co-curated 2 traveling exhibits about local history: the Durham Civil Rights Heritage Project and Durham Historic Black Wall Street. She has also curated 2 major exhibitions about Cambodian American traditions, and her 2003 children's book, Sokita Celebrates the New Year, a Cambodian American Holiday, the recipient of the National Association of Multicultural Education's Children's Publication Award. She is the co-recipient of the 2011 Algernon Sidney Sullivan Award for Humanitarian Service at Duke University. Law also earned a BA in sociology, so did I, in urban studies from Washington University in St. Louis in 1980, and an MA in folklore at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill 2000. From 1999 to 2009, she held the position of Community Documentary Projects Director at the Center for Documentary Studies at Duke University. At this time, I'd like to present the Carlie B. Sessoms Award to Barbara Lau.
Like Mike, most people know I'm usually not at a loss for words, but I get nervous in these situations, so I did write a few remarks, especially since I wanted to bring us a few words from Polly Murray. So let me just start by saying that I really appreciate this award and really appreciate the recognition that the work of the Polly Murray Project has received. And thank you to the Commission and my nominator and to the Polly Murray Project Steering Committee and all the folks who have gotten involved in our work. And it's just great to see many of you come to our community dialogues and some of our other projects. I'd also like to thank my partner who's here to support me. It's, you know, with that kind of help that all of us kind of keep this going. But I'm really standing here tonight because of another Durhamite, someone who couldn't be with us, Polly Murray, whose vision for reconciliation and justice is my guiding light. She was an amazing and accomplished woman, earning 2 high school diplomas and 5 advanced degrees in law and divinity. She was committed to building a world where she could be herself at all times. Despite her brilliance and her drive, she faced many, many obstacles. The civil rights movement, to which she was so passionately committed, was not ready for a woman who demanded public leadership roles. The National Organization for Women, which she helped to found, failed to recognize the powerful overlapping oppressions of race and gender. And the gay rights movement, for most of her life, was considered the radical fringe. The Episcopal Church, Polly Murray changed that institution forever, because she was their first African-American female priest. My accomplishments do not begin to rival Polly's, and my life has been much more privileged than hers. But like her, I believe we can break down the barriers that have kept us battling each other and not moving forward together. And like Polly, I believe that work begins with compassion and conversation, when we tackle the painful past and uncover the histories of injustice that have shaped all of our lives and kept us apart. I'll end with a quote from a 1977 interview with Polly as part of a nationally televised segment on Charles Kuralt's On the Road, and I hope at least some of us here are old enough to remember Charles Kuralt's On the Road program. He was in Durham when Polly was preparing to offer the Eucharist for the first time at the Chapel of the Cross in Chapel Hill, where her grandmother was baptized as a slave. So really take these words to heart. And she said, "Black, white, and red," and I would add, gay, straight, and the 99 and 1%, are related by blood and by culture and by history and by common suffering. And so what I'm saying, let's level with one another. Let's admit we're related. And let's get on with the business of healing these wounds. And we're not going to do that unless we face the truth. Thank you all so much for this award.
Well, this brings our program to a close. We're going to bring Councilman Woodard back up for our closing remarks.
These are actually the remarks I was prepared to give tonight, so bear with me for yet a second time. You know, our theme tonight is moving Durham forward to a new era of human and civil rights. And I hope that tonight's ceremony, for those of you who are present with us in the council chambers and those of you who will watch this on DTV8, our government TV channel, and as Joy pointed out, it will run for another year, as last year's did. I hope it will inspire you all to think about how you can move Durham forward. I thought Reverend Cousins' remarks sermonette, if you will, was so on target. What will be our legacy? And as we think back on that. So I hope the comments tonight and the stories you've heard of our award recipients will inspire you to find out what your role is and how you can join us in that movement to move Durham forward. I'd like to say a few thank yous for this evening's program. First to Reverend and Mrs. Cousin, who are here tonight. Anissa's introduction of Reverend Cousin mentioned that he was both aggressive and progressive. And I thought that was a very apt phrase for Reverend Cousin and his great work. And we appreciate so much his message tonight. To our General Assembly delegation who's here tonight and joined us despite their busy schedules, we appreciate it. Again, to the Mayor Pro Tem, Cora Cole McFadden, we had a work session today and a couple meetings afterwards, so I really appreciate her taking time to be with us tonight. I want to say to our human relations staff, they are a great group of people, and they are another one of those A-teams that I enjoy working with because they inspire me, because they are down in the trenches fighting for human rights and housing rights every single day, and they do such great work for the City of Durham. I don't think we really recognize them fully. Let's give the human relations staff a big hand. I'd also like to thank our Human Relations Commission. As I said a little bit earlier tonight, this commission has a long history of service to this community, and this commission, as it's composed now, is a little small in number. We're working hard to build this back, but I've got to tell you, the 7 or 8 men and women who are serving that commission now are an incredible group of dedicated Durham citizens who roll up their sleeves and work so very, very hard. They don't get paid for this. They're volunteers, and they're doing an amazing job, and you are another one of my A-teams, and I really appreciate all the work that as commissioners you do. So a number of previous commissioners are here tonight, and I won't take time to try to identify all of them, but I'm particularly glad that our past chair, Nate Getz, joined us tonight. As Nate mentioned a little bit earlier in his remarks, we went through an interesting time under Nate's leadership a couple of years ago, and I don't think I've ever seen a citizen volunteer in this community undergo a lot of the criticism and suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous commentary and cartoons and pictures that we did a couple of summers back. Nate, you were a great leader and a great commissioner, and it's wonderful to have you here tonight as well. And to those of you who are with us tonight, thank you for coming and being with us to help celebrate Human Relations Month and to be part of this ceremony. And congratulations to our winners tonight. Again, Delilah will know this. When she called to share with me who the winners were, I was just so excited about all of them. I really was. Stephanie, who's said, "Do you know Stephanie?" I said, "No, but I sure know her work." So I'm so glad that you were honored tonight because of your amazing work. Mike Shiflett, my good friend. I seem to follow Mike all around Durham. And he's more places than me. I'm going to tell you that right now. And it's true. And an honor well deserved, Mike. And to my friend and sister in all things Pauli Murray, Barbara Lau. Sarah and I are blessed to worship at Pauli Murray's childhood church here in Durham, so we feel a special bond with her as well. And Barbara's leadership on telling Pauli Murray stories is great. But Barbara's so humble. Tonight she got up here, said thank you, and started talking about Pauli Murray, didn't she? She didn't say much else, and that's the kind of leader Barbara is, and you see her dedication to recognizing Pauli Murray. So you shortchanged yourself, Barbara, but that's okay. Your work really speaks for itself. So, in closing, I thought about a couple of quotes from 2 thinkers whose thoughts I enjoy quite a bit and work I enjoy quite a bit. They're very different characters, and when I identify them, you'll see what I'm talking about. The first thought is from Cornel West. And Dr. West said in an interview back with the New York Times back in the winter, "You've got to be a thermostat rather than a thermometer. A thermostat shapes the climate of opinion. A thermostat just reflects it. A thermometer just reflects it." So that's my first thought tonight. Let's be thermostats and not just thermometers as we walk out this evening. And finally, from Archbishop Desmond Tutu. By the way, if you go visit my office upstairs here in City Hall, sitting on my desk, you will see a doll that is Archbishop Tutu. and he's just truly one of my heroes. And Archbishop Tutu once said this: "Do a little bit of good where you are. It is those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world." So as we move forward and as we think about our legacy, those two thoughts come to mind. Dr. West, be a thermostat, and Bishop Tutu, let's put together our little bits of good. Thank you. Good night.